Hello, America. Welcome to the program. Now, I want to talk just a little bit here, just to people who have been with me for years and years. Have you ever seen me optimistic? Or optimistic and like not with a buttload, honestly, of caveats like, well, you know, maybe. I am so optimistic after last Tuesday's election, and I was optimistic then. I am more optimistic today than I was then because of some of the moves that the president-elect is now making. You know, I've been saying, where's the guy with the big vision? We need somebody like JFK to stand up and go, there, we're going to the moon, and we're going to put a man on the moon, and we're going to come back. We're going to do it within 10 years. We need big vision. Just before the presidential election, I heard Donald Trump at one of his rallies, and he said, there's a new golden era coming. And I thought, yeah, maybe. There is a new golden era coming. And the reason why I am, look, I've been hoping, I've been wishing, but I've been pretty, dismal as far as optimism goes on actually finding a new Kennedy, a new Reagan. It's bothered me when you compare anybody to any of these other presidents, especially the great ones, in real time. However, I don't think we found another Reagan. Big caveat here. If he does what he's now saying he's going to do, we may have found a new Lincoln. I know what that means. I'm a student of history. I know what that means. But this guy might be a refounder. He is going off the Constitution. He knows what the problems are, diagnose the problems, and then come up with a radical treatment to cure the body. This is exactly what we've needed, and I didn't know if Donald Trump was going to be the guy that could do it until recently. He started releasing some videos over the last few days. And the first one was about the deep state. The second one was how he's going to change education. And the last one was on the propaganda industrial complex. These are so well done. I wrote to him last night and said, these are your fireside chats. Keep them coming. They are so well done, so well thought out, that when I saw them and I saw his actual plan, I think it just might work. Now, when I saw the first one, which was deep state, I thought, this is trouble, because how are they going to allow him to live? I really, truly believe the older I get, I never was in the Kennedy conspiracy theory department, but I think that was the CIA. I mean, he said, Kennedy at the time, I'm going to stop all these wars. I'm going to stop the CIA and the military industrial complex. And they didn't like that. Well, now he's doing the same thing, except his is bigger. The money that is going to be at stake for people that will be returned to you is awesome. We're talking about a world where you could have the average income of $56,000 a year. If he can get some of the stuff that he was talking about with just cutting of the budget and cutting taxes, your salary could go from $56,000 to $88,000 a year because he gets rid of taxes. This is awesome and a new golden era. He's not taking us back to, 1950. He wants to take us to the industrial boom where the dreamer really could dream and do in the 1880s. That's a totally different America that we haven't seen since He's the anti-FDR. He's going to undo everything that the FDR did. This is a golden era. I'm more excited for his administration, and I know it's going to be a bloodbath. It is. Can I show you a chart of a bloodbath? This is the way we've always looked at bloodbaths, like that. That's how America voted. That's a bloodbath, kids. I'm sorry to show that to you. I hope I didn't, cause you not to fall asleep. I know Democrats are not sleeping because of this, but I hope I didn't harm the children. That is a true bloodbath. How did that happen? Well, first of all, I think the changes in Trump come from, he knows what he's doing this time. He had no idea what he was walking into in 2016. He knows now. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows who's burying the bodies, and he doesn't like any of them. He is only in bed with you. He has also found God, I believe. He believes that he was actually saved for a reason. And on top of that, we have the 250th anniversary of America, July 4th, 2026, okay? That's a year and a half away. Did you notice where he said, when he was talking about cutting the size of government, what the final date is? July 4th, 2026. I think he is trying to hand this country back to the people as close as he can get to its original form, hand the power back to you for our 250th anniversary. That's amazing. Trump is in a place and the right time for a very specific purpose. You can love him or hate him, but this is the crossroads. This is the fork in the road, if you will, of Western civilization. This is not just about America. This will change the entire West if he can do it. Okay. The reason why I have not been real optimistic on things, and you might have heard me say this before, that which would you rather have as a doctor? Okay, you have cancer. You're not good at this. I need my wife. Where the hell is it? You get a man to do. I go. Nice that you dressed up for the show today. Thank you, Matt. Okay, so I have said that which would you feel more comfortable with? A doctor who knows you have cancer throughout your entire body, you're riddled with cancer, that comes in and says, maybe a case of 24-hour cancer. I wouldn't worry about it. Hey, think positive. We're going to just eat around the corners of this cancer. We're maybe going to take a tooth out. Or would you rather have a doctor come into you and say, I hate to tell you this, but you're riddled with cancer. You can do chemotherapy. You could die, and you might die. But you have a chance of living if we do radical surgery. I'd have more hope in that doctor than the first doctor, because he's telling me the truth. We have someone who's telling us the truth and has suddenly become a surgeon who knows how to do it, or knows how to assemble the team of doctors that are experts in every type of cancer that we have. The cancer we have has spread through the entire system, the entire body politic. Just like the Fabian socialists of the United Kingdom and the cultural Marxists of Europe, the plan has been a slow but methodical remolding of the United States, the republic, into a democracy that nobody even knows what it is. The last president, the one we currently have, and really the last few, all we've been saying is, you got cancer and we should stop smoking. And so the Republicans have been saying, well, just smoke less. And the Democrats have been saying, no, the cure is to smoke more. We finally have someone that says, stop smoking entirely, and we have to remove a lung. Now, the mandate has been clear. We want Donald Trump and the GOP to burst into office in January like the two characters, in Step Brothers when they dressed in tuxedos and vowed to mess stuff up. Now, we're not saying that we want them to act outside of the Constitution. I want them to be more surgical. Messing stuff up is what the left does, and they've been doing it for decades. We want surgeons who come in, identify the parts of the body that have been infected, and methodically excise the cancer. America's heart was founded on a revolutionary idea. Government is beholden to the people. It has no other source of power except the sovereign people. We don't believe that a little intellectual elite can plan our lives better than we can. We give no power to unelected experts in agencies far off in Washington, D.C. Whether they sit at some three-letter agency in Washington or Harvard University or some international body like the UN, they hold no power. We do. Now, we surrendered it because we weren't paying attention. This is the reason for the carnage of the electoral map, because America just wised up and said, we need a real doctor. We see that the body is very sick and cancer at every level. So I want to talk to you over the next few weeks about all of this. We're going to do a series of shows. America's heart has been replaced with unelected bureaucrats and experts from the deep state. They now make the choices that we now have to live under. And they have to be cut out of the body and every place that they have affected. Let me show you some of the things here. The rib cage. This is like the FBI, the Department of Justice, DHS. They're protecting the essential organs inside the body. The military-industrial complex, Pentagon, is like our arms. No pun intended. And the fingers of those arms are the intel agency, CIA, NSA, but they are affecting things outside of the body, never inside the body, okay? The body's immune system keeps us healthy, but the facets of government that now oversee this are doing the opposite. HHS, the NIH, FDA, that's really our liver. Purifying the blood, making sure that it washes things out. But we've overwhelmed our liver with things that the FDA said, oh, you can take, have some more COVID, have some more vaccines. Big food has made billions while we get sicker, less healthy. We're now dying younger than ever before. In the weeks to follow, I'm going to identify every single system in the body that now has been infected, and I'm going to show you what the president wants to do and how did we get here so we learn our lesson. In every single area that America has now mandated that we want fixed, exercised, cured, cut out if it's too disease-ridden. But tonight, we're going to start how we as a country actually allowed this infection to take root, because it started long ago. Way back when I was at Fox, I did a chalkboard on the things that were happening around the time that just didn't make sense. You know, it was all about the Arab Spring, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like where we are now. It's oddly similar, but it's much worse. Now, nothing makes sense. So let me just give you the problem and then their solution. Inflation is rising, right? Why are then we continuing to spend and print money as if it doesn't matter? Because it does. That solution doesn't make sense to solve this problem. Democrats, the party of no wars, they are the ones that are now saying we got to go into Libya, Ukraine, Russia, everywhere. Wait, you're the party of no war. What happened? That didn't make sense. You used to be this. Demonizing the allies and Americans. Israel is now evil. The Tea Party or the MAGA movement are Nazi terrorists. Meanwhile, the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas are just fine. That doesn't make sense. Fuel, energy prices are rising. Okay, so we have to shut down our natural gas and our oil and all of our drilling? That's not a solution. Democrats, the hippies, right? They're the ones now for big pharma, big food, the FDA, HHS, sticking needles into your arms, whether it's heroin on the street for everybody or it's a COVID vaccine. Where are the hippies? Where did they go? I think I'm more of a hippie than the hippies. And I hate hippies. Democrats, party of the blue collar. Really? They're now the party of big tech, corporate activism. The rich people and the elites are the ones in that map that voted for the Democrats. Doesn't make sense unless you understand what system was first riddled with the disease. Which one were they sticking cigarettes into first? I contend it's this one, the eyes, and this one, the ears. You know, nothing makes sense anymore for a couple of reasons. We've been conditioned to accept known falsehoods as the truth. We've been propagandized to accept, it's just a coincidence that the left controls everything from the media, Hollywood, universities, the culture, everything. And it's completely normal. Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you heard. That's not true. The truth is, none of that is normal. We have been the victims of an influence operation that spans decades. Now, why do we accept things that are clearly false and make no sense? Because we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to believe that water is not wet and fire will not burn. Tonight, we're going to start here. At the first place, our body was infected intentionally with cancer. And it's a progressive kind of cancer. And it enabled it to spread throughout our entire system. We begin tonight with the eyes and ears, the propaganda industrial process. If we don't fix those first, we have no chance of fixing the rest of the body. We'll go over all of it next. All right. If we learned anything from this election, it's that it is really important for us to fight. Fight for everything. Blessed are the peacemakers, but the peacemakers are the ones that give up their peace so we can have lasting peace. The left desperately wants to fight to take babies' lives. I don't. Every day, Preborn Ministries fights for those babies and the moms. Preborn's networks of clinics positioned in the highest abortion cities and areas, and they are fighting for the moms who are deciding between life and death for their unborn children, and quite honestly, their soul. Most of these moms, they don't want to have an abortion. They just don't think they have any other choice. The first step is to show mom a child on the ultrasound, her child. That doubles the chances that mom is going to choose life. Then they show those babies and the mothers God's love by providing additional assistance for up to 2 years. When those on the left shout abortion, we shout life. Choose life. Will you help Preborn in its quest to save lives today? If you have the means, would you consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Maybe you've had a good year. Your tax-deductible donation of anything but $15,000 would place an ultrasound machine in a needy woman's center, saving countless babies for years to come. Donate. $28 is the price of an ultrasound for a mom. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/Glenn. That's preborn.com/Glenn, sponsored by Preborn. The fight for America's eyes and ears has been going on for a very long time, but it was the left that made it their primary objective. Donald Trump made this one of the first issues to address in a video directly after winning the election last week. He promised immediately after inauguration to sign an executive order banning federal agencies from colluding to censor or impede speech on American citizens, to ban federal funds from being used to label American speech as mis- or disinformation, to fire bureaucrats who have previously engaged in this, to refine Section 230 that provides immunity to internet platforms, and to mandate a cooling off period for government employees from agencies like the DNI or the DOD or NSA or CIA before they went to work for any company that possesses vast amounts of American user data. He said at least 5 years. Well, that's a good start. Good start. But how do we get this sick? America's propaganda cancer goes long back, long way back. It involves much more than just big tech and the internet and social media. Noam Chomsky, one of the left's biggest and effective thinkers, said, quote, "He who controls the media controls the mind of the public." Now, I've talked about Noam Chomsky a bit in the past. This is a book he wrote back in the 1980s, and it has become very clear this is what the left used as their Bible. A lot of this is just about business, saying, you know, businesses, people, customers, they don't want catchy slogans and slick-looking ads. It's what you do that matters, okay? The name of this book is called Manufacturing Consent: The Political Economy of the Mass Media, okay? If you want to know how the far left now owns the media, Hollywood, big tech, universities, read this book. We always say that George Orwell's 1984 was never meant to be an instruction manual, but how would you actually get to the point where an entire country would accept 1984? Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent is the blueprint before you get to 1984. Whether it was originally intended that way or not, that is. Chomsky discusses in depth how the elite class maintains their control and dominance. The left has now become the elite class. They've switched from the party of the working man to elite, and that makes complete and total sense after you see it through the lens of this book. I want to show you a recent exit poll from the election. Who did Kamala Harris win and gain ground with? People who attended college but received no degree, associate's, bachelor's degree, advanced degree. Look at the blue numbers. Over half, up to $200,000 annual income, and over half have $200,000 or more in income. 77% of the left declare that inflation is no problem. They haven't had any hardships at all in their lives. Right. Whoopi Goldberg this week said she couldn't stop doing the show if she wanted to because she couldn't afford to live. She's worth $60 million and makes $6 million a year. Whoopi, you should see a different accountant. 74% of Republicans claim inflation has caused them severe hardship. And of course that would be the case because the left has become both the elitely educated and now the elitely paid. They are the last to feel the effects of things like immigration and inflation. This is by design through a carefully planned influence operation. Listen to Noam Chomsky for a documentary he made on this book, Manufacturing Consent.
There's two targets for propaganda. One is what's sometimes called the political class. There's maybe 20% of the population which is relatively educated, more or less articulate. They play some kind of role in decision making. They're supposed to sort of participate in social life, either as managers or cultural managers, like, say, teachers and writers and so on. They're supposed to vote. They're supposed to play some role in the way economic and political and cultural life goes on. Now, their consent is crucial. It's one group that has to be deeply indoctrinated. Then there's maybe 80% of the population whose main function is to follow orders and not to think, and not to pay attention to anything.
Does this not explain everything? The way they look at the people in the country? There's one group that has to be deeply indoctrinated. That's why they don't consult you on anything. That's why they think they run everything, because it was set up that way. This is the group that Harris and the left actually grew with, the rich, overeducated white people. Progressives followed Chomsky's words to the letter. It's why all of our children go off to college and then come back fully indoctrinated in the progressive machine. They're just a cog in the wheel. Look at the news after Trump won. Universities like Harvard, Penn, and Columbia canceled classes and rescheduled exams. Their traumatized students had to mourn. University of Oregon professor was placed on leave after hurling expletives at Trump voters and telling them to all go kill themselves. But not all of these progressive drones go to college or the college level. Some of them filter down to our kids in public school. Here's a public school teacher recently in California.
Child molester, I'm gonna vote for that friggin' rape. Katrina, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. I have a daughter, I have 3 nieces, and he raped them, and people are voting for him. The Christians are voting for him. Bunch of losers. Fake Christians.
Well, he goes on, and if you believe it, it gets worse. Well, this is how you manufacture consent. They target the most vulnerable, the young minds that are still developing. It begins maybe in grade school, maybe in nursery school, and it continues in through higher education. And if you want to opt out of higher education and not be indoctrinated, they'll tell you you'll never make any money, right? So you have to be indoctrinated. Every major corporation and every media outlet in the country, it's this, the media. Now that's where the real work kicks in. That's where the population is kept fully asleep. They cover up all of the things that don't seem to make sense. And if you question them, you're a dummy, you're stupid, you don't understand, or you're a Nazi, depending on the current agenda. They call one candidate or party Hitler and Nazis, simultaneously effectively running a campaign of their chosen candidate whose boss was ejected in a coup, and the new one comes in and never won a single primary vote. And they say, that's okay, it's normal. No, it's not. They consider people, they consider drones, we'll just all nod in agreement. Yeah, that's normal, that's normal. Eyes and ears. This is how you subjugated people. But again, the problem goes deeper. I'll show you more of what Chomsky wrote, and I'm going to show you the real problem of American propaganda complex. And know that the solution is coming. He laid out the solution. This is why we have an amazing time coming forward. It's going to be a battle, but it is a chance to actually save America and refound it back to its original positions and original constitutional mores. The American propaganda complex. More on this when we come back. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about Jace Medical. Trump is going back in office, and that's excellent news for the country. But there is a hard road ahead. There will be changes to laws and policies that have far-reaching effects. There are also going to be people who don't like it, and that could impact your ability to access or afford the medications that you need. Good news is there is something you can do to ensure that you and your loved ones have medical care when needed. It is a solution that thousands of people have already discovered. It's called the Jace case, and it will allow you to start stocking up on medication so you're prepared. Please, no matter how optimistic things look, this is going to be a long, hard, dangerous battle because it's the whole ball of wax. So please understand where we are. The Jace case is a personalized emergency kit that contains essential antibiotics and medications that treat all the most common and deadly bacterial infections. It provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All you have to do is fill out a simple form online and you'll have it in case you need it. Also, Jace just launched an all-new compounded version of ivermectin for only $30 as an add-on to the Jace case. So go to jace.com, enter the promo code Beck at checkout for a discount on your order. That's promo code Beck at jase.com. I want to begin with this little disclaimer. This is not a rant about capitalism. I'm the biggest advocate for capitalism, real capitalism that you'll find. This isn't even a critique of crony capitalism, although that needs to be discussed as we progress further, looking into the deep state, big pharma, big food, military, industrial complex, and everything else plaguing our country right now. This is an analysis on control. What our enemies are using against us to control what we think, the causes that we support, the way we plan for our retirement, the way we feed our families or heat our homes, on and on. The death of free will. For example, before I get back to Chomsky and his book, here's a little George Orwell from 1984. Quote, films, football, beer, and above all, gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. To keep them in control was not difficult. Just change, still films, Netflix, football, yep, beer, booze, drugs, whatever. Gambling, the internet filled up the horizon of their minds. That's what's happening. Now, Orwell wrote this long before George Floyd and the birth of modern corporate activism. He had no idea about organizations like the World Economic Forum or ESG. Orwell was talking ultimately about the dangers of consumerism, which goes back to the Wilson administration. And Edward Bernays said, the problem with this country is we have a group of people that pay attention to their needs. We need to change them into people of wants. And they did. Consumerism. Now, how consumerism provides a distraction to what's really is going on is really important. If an authoritarian government holds the reins of the corporate elite, like in the 21st century fascism, then we become slaves unknowingly to their entire agenda. That's where we've been. Tuesday, we woke up. Now, there's no question about it. After the spread of ESG and DEI and the woke agenda, big corporations are in bed with the government. They call them public-private partners. Okay, that's the literal definition of fascism. Making good products really becomes secondary. Making money, well, that comes down to whether they toe the government line. If you will say the right things, of course, you'll make money. Banks will give you loans. Orwell's nightmare, as far as control is concerned, is now our reality. Just imagine the power this provides. Imagine the money. This is why Donald Trump and anyone who works with him is in danger. When you look at all the consumer brands, do you know how many companies own over 550 consumer brands? The number is 12. Look at this graphic. There is not anything that we don't consume, buy, use that doesn't trace back to just a handful of corporations. 12. But again, this isn't an anti-corporation rant. By all means, make money, grow your companies, do what you have to do. But the orange man cometh, okay? He's got a plan for you. Now, I want to talk to you about ownership here. When the unholy alliance between government takes place with government and capitalism or corporations, that's where we have a problem. How many of these companies have come to openly endorse and embrace DEI, ESG, and all the other whacked out progressive crusades over the past decade? Almost all of them. This same exact model is what has happened to the American propaganda complex, the mainstream media. Let me switch back to Noam Chomsky here in his Manufacturing Consent. This is Chomsky back in the 80s on how the legacy media controls the public. Watch.
Now, the elite media are the agenda-setting media. That means the New York Times, the Washington Post, the major television channels, and so on. They set the general framework. Local media more or less adapt to their structure. And they do this in all sorts of ways, by selection of topics, by distribution of concerns, by emphasis and framing of issues, by filtering of information, by bounding of debate within certain limits.
2.5 minutes to air. 45 seconds.
They determine, they select, they shape, they control, they restrict in order to serve the interests of dominant elite groups in society.
Did you notice years ago we used to complain about gas prices once the media was on it? But if it was a Democrat in office and the media wouldn't rail about it, just this last time, nobody was talking about high gas prices except in small little circles because the elites in society, the demographic that Chomsky identified as the ones that control the country, weren't talking about it. And now it's only a subsection of progressives and Kamala Harris that that is gaining ground with the progressives and the Kamala Harris voters. The media selects the topics to be covered. They gatekeep. They set the agenda. That agenda is all but hand-delivered to them by the same elites within Washington, D.C. and the corporate public-private partnership. Great example of this is a few days before the election. The New York Times targeted conservatives and independent media that broadcast on YouTube. Why? Why were they hand-delivered the talking points by Clinton and Democratic operatives at Media Matters? The elite in government and business set the agenda. Their propagandists in the media churn it out like it's a little demonic factory. Just little demons working, printing this stuff all the time. Chomsky called this, and then it was followed like a Hollywood movie script. Tell me this isn't planned. I'm going to show you something. And this comes from my experience in media. I was 13 when I got into radio. It was 1979. And so I remember what it was like before Reagan came in. And this is both a tale of what can happen with deregulation in a good way and what can happen if we go too far. In the 1980s, when Chomsky wrote this book, 90% of American media was owned by over 50 companies. 90%. You couldn't own, I think it was 3 stations or 7 stations in one town. Couldn't. I think it was 3. I could be wrong. Companies I don't think could be bigger than 7. Well, it's been 40 years. Now, how many people own these companies? Own all of the media. 50% or 50 companies own 90% of the media. What is it now? Today, it is owned by 6. This is the media industrial complex, the propaganda industrial complex. Let me show these on a chart because it's amazing. National Amusements and the Redstone family control CBS, CMT, MTV, Nickelodeon, gaming, internet, Simon & Schuster, and so much more. Look at that. Disney and the far-left whack job Bob Iger controls ABC, ESPN, the History Channel, Marvel, Star Wars, video games, print, you name it, they own all of that. Time Warner controls CNN, Warner Brothers, HBO, Turner, video games, internet, print media like Time. Comcast controls NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, Telemundo, the internet, and everything else. Universal Pictures. News Corp and the Murdoch family control Fox, National Geographic, and a ton of others. And Sony, a ton there. A lot of it is music, ton of TV, movies, and so much more. Now, these are just a few examples of what these conglomerate owns. Remember, almost everything you use and consume and eat owned by, 12 companies? And 6 own what you're talking about every day. Who's controlling the information? The big 6, taken all together, are valued at nearly $500 billion. You want to know why they fought the little guys so much? And lost, by the way, this last Tuesday. They had $500 billion invested in all this crap that now isn't working. So this is what happened. Progressives identified a vulnerability back during the Reagan era. They saw that the eyes and the ears could easily be manipulated through the control of giant corporations and the mass media. So they spent nearly half a century consolidating mass media companies from 50 to 6. The result of their work is devastating. Let me just show you this. Here's our eyes and our ears, what we hear and what we see, and we're now being told, don't pay attention to any of that. But the left brain and the right brain, okay? We're told that the left brain, the blue part of the brain, is all about reason and science, right? That's not the left brain. That's actually the right brain. it's actually the left brain is math and reason. They flipped everything. Right is about feelings and emotion and creative. But that's not what the Reds are. We're more about reason, math. We make our case. They make the case based on feelings. So everything has been jumbled up and mutated into something you don't even recognize anymore. Technology now has made information accessible to more people in the world like never before. I saw something last night I wrote to Stu, and I saw this video of Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk. And they were talking about this new giveaway that he's gonna give away $20 billion over the next 30 days. But you have to act right now. And he said, go to Elon 30 or whatever it was. I went there because I watched the video. I went there and I looked at it and it was like, send us half a Bitcoin and we're going to send you that half back plus another half. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That's way too good to be true. How? And I went back to the video and I looked at it and I'm like, that's them. I sent it to Stu. Stu said, watch their mouth really carefully. It was AI. It was a deep fake. Truth is going to get harder and harder to find. And the truth has never been more restricted. The cancer that is coming in to the brain from the eyes and the ears, they need massive correction. They need to be cut, replaced. Don't destroy what they're for. Make sure that they work properly, but get the cancer out. In many ways, this process has already begun. Look at the people that joined Donald Trump during this election. Elon Musk, for one, he voted for Obama not once, but twice. Joe Rogan was a Bernie Sanders supporter. RFK Jr. is a Kennedy. Tulsi Gabbard ran the DNC and ran for president for the Democrats. What happened? Donald Trump doesn't win, I think, without all of them coming out to end censorship, to end this madness. Does he win if Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter? I don't think so. Elon Musk opening up Twitter allowed voices to be heard in social media on a mass scale. It's why they went after him so hard. Because once you can see and hear the other side of the argument, and if your brain isn't so twisted up by our education system, and you use some reason and common sense, you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. Now, that doesn't mean we agree on everything. It just means they know they've been being played. Now, the way we cut out this cancer is by more competition, more options, ending the partnership between the government and their surrogates, their corporate board members that are all sitting at the tables of the big six. Increase the amount of independent media. No government bailouts, no government startups. Let the system work. Halt the cronyism between the government and the media companies. Stop the people who work here and here from then going up here and saying, here's what we do with all this information. Cut all of the funding from three-letter agencies to private entities that censor the American public. That's how we fix it. And the great thing is, that's Donald Trump's plan. He has a plan to actually fix all of this. The brain, the eyes, and the ears that are riddled with cancer. We have a lot to do yet on the body, but if we fail to do this first, then everything the Trump administration does to fix the deep state will just happen all over again. The free flow of information enables men to become and stay free. If it's stifled, the cancer will spread all over again. Back in a minute. You know, getting older sucks. Have you noticed that? I mean, it's great in some places because you just don't care. You don't care. Grandpa's just like that. Yes, I am. I've earned it. But the other part of getting old is sucky is how your body just doesn't work like it used to. I tried pretty much everything I could to get out of really bad pain. I couldn't write. I love to write by hand with paper. Yes, kids, it was done that way at one time. And I couldn't do it. And then, as my son says, nothing changes if nothing changes. My wife told me to try Relief Factor, and something changed. It's a daily 100% drug-free supplement that doesn't mask your pain for a short time. It helps your body eliminate pain for good. It uses a unique formula of all natural ingredients. Nothing from the big pharmaceutical companies goes into this stuff. They're ingredients that actually help your body's response to inflammation. Over 1 million people have tried Relief Factor. 70% of them have gone on to order more. Give Relief Factor a try with their 3-week quick start, $19.95, less than $1 a day. Try it and see how you can maybe get rid of all that pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF, relieffactor.com. It is important to watch what President Trump is laying out in front of us. You can find it on his Truth Social. And don't believe anything that is going on in the media unless he says it on Truth Social. But I'm just looking at this. We just did the eyes and ears, but we're going to come back and work on education, which is the brain. You know, we're told there's only one way to think. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We think in so many different ways, and both sides, the creative side and the intellectual side, it's important to have both of them. But that's not what we're being taught in school now. We're just being lied to. We're going to come back to the liver. This is big pharma. This is all the crap that we're putting into our bodies that we probably shouldn't be, as well as big food in the stomach. But the rib cage is going to be really interesting because that is the Justice Department, the FBI. I think I know who might be the new leader of the FBI. I hope so. Please. DHS, they just announced that, and the Border Patrol. These guys are supposed to protect everything that is internal, that is important. They're not anymore. So watch this series as we go through, and we're going to spend more time on each solution that the president is proposing because he's going to need a lot of backup. They are not just going to go away and let this happen. And he's got 100 days to do a lot of surgery. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio from Dallas. Good night, America.